I wanted to talk to you about the food delivery space because you're the first person at this company I ever remember hearing talking in a meaningful way about GrubHub as a stock and saying, no, really, this is one worth paying attention to. And GrubHub, the stock has had, kind of a rough 12 months, but in general, this is a well-run business. And if you're a long-term shareholder, you've been rewarded because of that. Where do you think this space is right now? Because obviously, with GrubHub competing against the likes of Doordash, which is private for now, Postmates, which announced they're going public, and any number of Uber. Regional players, obviously Uber with Uber Eats, that sort of thing. This seems like maybe not a mature market, but a maturing market. What do you see when you look at this landscape?
I think it's a really interesting space. So for a little bit of context, GrubHub is about a $7.2 billion market cap. As you mentioned, in February, early, Postmates has filed initial paperwork for an IPO, and they're valued about $1.85 billion, so still smaller, but again, still a unicorn up with those other ones that were waiting for public offerings. And then you have Doordash, which announced another round of funding at the end of February, and they're put it at about a $7.1 billion valuation, so almost equivalent with GrubHub. And then you have Uber Eats, which is obviously factored into Uber's overall valuation. So I think it's definitely a spot where investors are seeing opportunity. I think it's an interesting spot, again, because GrubHub is really the only pure play that is public where you have the most information. I still would say it's pretty early on in these stages, and I think investors are just recognizing it as I think when GrubHub first came public, I don't think people saw this as an opportunistic space, and I think we're now turning the corner on that, and we're not sure who this winner is going to be, or if it's one winner or all of these are winners, but it finally feels like people are recognizing the space.
So what caught my attention the other day was a television commercial for Doordash, because for the longest time, people of my age and older just thought in terms of, if I'm going to get something delivered to my house, I have to call the restaurant. I have, and obviously if you're looking for anything other than pizza, now you have GrubHub, Uber Eats, Doordash, all these others come along and they say essentially, whatever restaurant you want, we're going to get it for you. And the Doordash commercial, I thought, did a great job of sort of getting that across, where it was showing in the commercial a variety of different people in different situations, different life situations, a young couple with a newborn baby, or people throwing a party, like all this. So all these different situations and all these different cuisines. And it was essentially, DoorDash is going to get you there. And for whatever reason, for me, who has not used any of these services, it was a little bit of a light bulb moment where I was just like, oh, that's how this works, where I just get the DoorDash app on my phone, and presumably I don't have to worry about what I'm in the mood for.
Right.
Towards that end, and you just touched on this, I'm not saying this seems like a zero-sum game, but it really does strike me as an industry right now that's only going to have a couple of winners. It's hard for me to imagine, if they do it right, that GrubHub or DoorDash or Uber Eats, for that matter, I'm sorry, Postmates, but the name alone just isn't getting me interested. So I'm just going to push them outside. But it's hard for me to imagine that if they execute on the right level, that they don't become one of like 2 or 3 winners. Yeah.
I mean, I guess everyone is sort of trying to carve out their niche. So recently you've seen GrubHub push out with a lot of chain national brands. Postmates, I know you dismissed them, but I'm
dismissing the name. That's
the name.
DoorDash, I get it right from the name.
Right.
Postmates, I immediately go to Post-it notes.
Postmates is a little bit of a different operating strategy. So they deliver random items. So they are the official. They have a partnership with Apple and Walgreens as well as restaurant food. And they do it they do unlimited delivery subscriptions for deliveries of $15 or more for a flat fee of $9.99 per month. So in that sense, I would think Postmates is more of an Amazon sort of competitor, which is not a space I'd be as interested in.
Just the fact that they're saying, we're going to start a business and we think we'd like to
replace Amazon.
Replace Amazon in terms of delivery.
Yeah, that's challenging. I mean, a flat fee for delivery is kind of interesting, but I don't know about the logistics of doing all of the other like tech and medicine and things like that. And then DoorDash, they also have started delivering groceries. So they partnered with Walmart last year. I mean, I think logistics it's a hard business. There's never going to be a huge amount of profit, or it's going to constantly be, a game of small margins. And originally, when I started looking at this space, I thought, at least on a geographic on a geographic basis, there's really going to be one dominant player. So it's going to be a winner take all, at least by geography. And I think maybe my thinking has shifted a little bit. And so just if you look at other logistics industries, so ride sharing, you have Uber, you have Lyft, you have traditional yellow cab, and then you have a lot of regional or geographically focused players. Housing, so if you think about you have your Airbnbs versus your Marriotts versus your Hyatts, et cetera. Package and parcel deliveries, so you have the U.S. government, in addition to Amazon's own logistics, in addition to UPS and FedEx and all these other players. Maybe there is room for more than one, is my new thinking, but I haven't decided where that caps out. And I think on some level, it can't just be price, right? We have to have some sort of other differentiator that makes one more or less appealing.
Right. And to that point, it all comes down to the execution.
Right.
Right. You can love GrubHub until they start doing a bad job of delivering.
Right.
And then
exactly.
you have other options. Who do you use?
I use GrubHub.
Okay.
But GrubHub owns Seamless, and I first started ordering delivery when I was using Seamless in New York.
Definitely an interesting space that we're going to keep watching, and curious to see how these IPOs go.